Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Intimacy Lab. Let me ask you something. Have you ever sat across from a woman you love, watching her smile gently, nodding politely but sensing deep down that something is missing? Her lips say she's fine, but her eyes are pleading for something you can't quite grasp. She's not telling you exactly what she needs. She isn't spelling it out, and you wonder, almost helplessly, why can't she just say it? What am I supposed to do? But here's the truth: women often don't say what they really want because part of them wants you to feel it, to intuit it, to understand them without being handed a manual. It's not a game, it's emotional depth. It's the way intimacy works, subtle, unspoken, delicate, and deeply human. That's why this conversation matters, because right now, the gap between your intentions and her silent desires might be the very thing eroding your connection. In today's video, we're going to talk about what she wants you to do but won't say out loud. And as we go deeper into this, I want you to feel these insights, not just hear them. I want you to sit in the space between what is spoken and what is felt, because that's where the real intimacy lives. You know, there's this fascinating thing I've observed so often in my work with couples, especially men over 30, who come to me perplexed, tired, frustrated, asking, why do I feel like I'm doing everything right and still falling short? Why do I get this sense that she's pulling away, even when I'm trying so hard to meet her needs? The answer isn't simple, because human connection isn't simple. What she wants from you isn't always spoken, but it's there, in her glance when you walk in the room, in her sigh when you think you've resolved the argument, in the way she withdraws affection, even though no words of criticism have been exchanged. It's a subtle dance, this realm of unspoken needs. And in long-term relationships, this becomes even more profound. As women mature, what they want from a man evolves too. It's less about grand gestures, more about presence, understanding, and the silent signals you choose to notice. And here's where so many men struggle. They look for direct communication when what's being asked is emotional literacy. She's not going to sit you down and draft a list of her emotional requirements. That would make you feel like you're in a board meeting, not a relationship. No, what she desires most is that you feel her, that you understand the music playing under the words. So let's enter this world together today. First, she wants you to take initiative, and not just when it's easy or obvious. Not just when it's date night and the restaurant is pre-booked. She craves initiative that feels like you're thinking about her in ordinary moments, spontaneously making coffee before she wakes, sending a thoughtful message just because, suggesting a walk together on a quiet afternoon without waiting for her to ask. But here's the paradox. She won't tell you she wants this because it breaks the spell of intimacy if she has to. If she has to remind you to be thoughtful, it feels transactional. Initiative is not about efficiency, it's about attentiveness. It's about the invisible thread of effort you weave daily, not to prove your worth but to demonstrate care. And so many men fall into the habit of waiting for a cue or an instruction, saying, if she needs something, she'll ask. But emotional connection doesn't thrive on requests alone. It flourishes in anticipation. It's the art of surprising her with small things that say, you matter to me even when we're not discussing what you want. Second, she longs for you to express your emotional world, not just your achievements or frustrations, but your feelings, your inner weather. She wants access to your vulnerability, but she won't come out and demand it, because demanding vulnerability contradicts its very essence. How many times have you said, I'm fine, when you were clearly not fine, and how many times has she chosen silence in those moments, even though her entire being wished you'd let her in? To her, your emotional world is not weakness, it's connection. When you hold back and armor yourself with stoicism, you may think you're protecting her or protecting yourself, but what you're actually doing is shutting her out from the intimacy she most desires the experience of knowing you deeply, and this is especially important for men who have been conditioned to believe that strength means withholding, that composure means repressing. Strength in this context means allowing her to witness your joy, your sorrow, your doubt, your fear. Not all the time, not in a way that asks her to rescue you, but in a way that lets her feel that she matters enough to see what's inside. And the irony is that so many women admire their partner's emotional resilience, but they don't want to admire you from a distance. They want to know you. They want to sit beside you in the shadow and the light. Now I know this isn't always easy, especially if you've learned to process things privately, to fix problems before sharing them. But sometimes what she wants isn't a solution, it's a window, and this leads to the third layer of what she wants but won't say out loud: presence. Not just being physically present in the room, but being mentally and emotionally present with her. When you're sitting together and she begins to tell you about her day, she's not testing your patience, she's testing your presence. She's tuning into whether you are there with her, whether your eyes meet hers without distraction, whether your responses come from a place of genuine interest, not obligatory politeness. In those small, ordinary moments when she's recounting a conversation with a friend or describing something seemingly trivial, she's actually sharing herself with you. The details may not matter to you, but the act of sharing matters deeply to her. This is how intimacy builds, not in the grand declarations, but in the accumulation of small moments where she feels seen, heard, felt. And here's the beautiful part: when a man learns to cultivate that presence, to listen without immediately fixing, to pause before offering advice, to simply witness and validate, he becomes magnetic to her. But again, she won't sit you down and say, "Please, could you just listen to me tonight without looking at your phone?" Because if she does, it already feels too late. The connection she sought has already been interrupted. That's why your attunement matters so much. When you demonstrate that you can hold space, not by disappearing into silence, but by being warm, attentive, curious, she relaxes into you. And when she feels that kind of emotional safety, that's when she begins to open in ways that surprise even her. So, we've begun this journey together, exploring the subtle things she wants you to do, but won't say out loud, taking initiative, showing vulnerability, offering your attentive presence. This is not about becoming a different person, it's about becoming more fully yourself in her presence. More attuned, more awake, more alive. And in doing so, you invite a deeper intimacy, one that goes beyond words into the realm of trust, of quiet knowing, of mutual devotion that doesn't need constant translation. Now stay with me, because as we continue, we're going to go even deeper into this emotional landscape. You see, as we continue peeling back these quiet layers, what becomes apparent is that what she wants most from you often lies in those delicate spaces where words fall short, but feeling remains rich. After presence, another tender, hidden desire arises. She wants to feel your curiosity not just about the world, but about her. And yet she won't say it outright because she wants it to feel authentic, not mechanical. Think about how easy it is, after a few years together, to assume you know everything about her. The routines become familiar, her preferences predictable, and so we stop asking, stop wondering. But curiosity is what keeps a relationship vibrant. She wants you to wonder about who she is today, not who she was when you met. She evolves, changes, grows, and she hopes that you'll remain curious enough to notice that. When she shares a passing comment about a new idea or a fleeting dream, she's offering you a window into who she's becoming. When you lean in with curiosity, you honor her evolving selfhood. When you ask, "How did that make you feel?" or "What's drawing you to that idea?" you're telling her, "I see you changing, and I'm still fascinated by you." And this is why many women quietly long for their partner to stop assuming and start asking, not because they want to be interrogated, but because they want to feel discovered again and again. Closely tied to this is the next unspoken longing. She wants you to hold boundaries, not just respect hers, but hold your own. You see, many men confuse accommodating with loving. They bend, they yield, they make themselves endlessly available in the name of harmony. But something subtle happens when a man forfeits his boundaries too easily. Respect erodes, attraction diminishes, polarity fades. She may never say it explicitly, but deep down she wants to know you can stand your ground, not in aggression, but in quiet confidence. She wants to feel that you can say no without fear, that you are rooted enough in your own values that you won't collapse under her emotional storms. Because when you have strong boundaries, you offer her a structure she can lean on. Your boundaries allow her to feel safe. They allow her to trust that you know who you are and that you won't disappear into accommodating her every mood. Many men miss this nuance. They think that by constantly pleasing her, they're being a good partner. But women don't want a man who molds himself into whatever shape pleases them most. They want a man whose core remains unshakable, even as he meets them with tenderness. This doesn't mean becoming rigid or indifferent. It means being clear about what you need, how you wish to be treated, what your limits are, and doing so with grace, not defiance. And she won't ask for this outright, because if she has to teach you to have self-respect, it undermines the polarity. But she feels it deeply when you stand firm in your values, and it draws her closer, even when she challenges you. It's this dance of love and respect, of softness and strength, that creates enduring attraction. Another profound, unspoken desire she holds is the need for your attention to detail. Not just attention to her big announcements or obvious needs, but the little things. She may never say it out loud, but when you remember how she takes her coffee, when you notice the way she fixes her hair differently today, when you remember a passing comment she made weeks ago about something she liked, it touches her in ways that words cannot. Why? Because attention is love made visible. In these details, you communicate that you are with her, that you see her not as an accessory to your life, but as someone whose nuances matter. And so many men forget that it's not the grand gestures that sustain intimacy, it's the daily moments of attunement. The way you glance at her across a crowded room, the way you gently brush her shoulder as you pass, the way you bring her the book she mentioned in passing, these things accumulate and create a deep well of trust and closeness. This is what makes a woman feel cherished, not simply desired, but valued, noticed, understood. And this attention to detail, it nourishes her emotional ecosystem. It tells her that she doesn't have to perform to get your love, because your attention proves you're already watching, already caring. But again, she won't say, "Please notice these things." If she has to ask, the magic is lost. She hopes you will cultivate this sensitivity because it means you are tuned in, that you're not on autopilot but awake, alive, invested. This all comes down to one thing: your presence must be active, not passive. You can sit next to someone for hours and still feel worlds apart if your mind is elsewhere. When she speaks, listen not just to the words, but to the emotional undercurrent beneath them. When she laughs, let it affect you, let it touch you. When she's quiet, resist the urge to fill the silence sometimes. The most loving thing you can do is simply be there, without distraction, without the need to entertain or solve. These subtle, almost invisible gestures, they carry a weight far beyond what you might expect. She wants you to understand her without needing a map, but she also wants you to remember that even as you think you know her, she's changing. And it is your curiosity, your attention, your self-respect, and your presence that will keep you close. Not proximity, not obligation, not convenience. And as we continue, I invite you to reflect not just on what she might want but hasn't said, but on how you show up as a man who can sense her desires, who can feel what she needs without waiting for an instruction, because that is the key to sustaining intimacy, not performance but attunement, not control but care. Let me know when you're ready for part 3. We'll continue right where we left off, flowing naturally into the next layer of what she wants but won't say out loud. You said, yes, ChatGPT said, perfect, let's continue with part 3, written seamlessly as an emotional, thoughtful continuation in Esther Perel's warm, conversational tone. Part 3, final points and conclusion 1002, 100 1005, 100 words, and so we find ourselves here, in this quiet space where intimacy truly lives. What she wants from you, but won't say out loud, is not hidden because she wants to play a game. It's hidden because love at its deepest level isn't about transactions, it's about presence, discovery, and feeling understood without having to explain every detail. As we move deeper, another subtle longing emerges. She wants you to protect her, but not in the ways we usually imagine protection. She doesn't necessarily need you to rescue her from external dangers, though that instinct is natural and beautiful. What she longs for is emotional protection, a kind of holding where she can trust that when she's vulnerable, you won't use that vulnerability against her later. This is such a delicate space. So many women carry emotional armor not because they want to, but because they've learned they cannot always trust how their openness will be held. She may not say it outright, but she is watching. Can you hold her honesty gently? Can you create a space where she can speak without fear that her feelings will later become ammunition in an argument? This emotional safety is what allows her to soften. When she feels that your masculinity is not just powerful but protective in a profound and gentle way, she can exhale into the relationship. And she won't say this directly because if she has to ask you to protect her emotional world, it can feel as if the trust is already broken. But you can sense this need if you tune in carefully, when she tests your reactions to small disclosures, when she shares something tender and immediately looks at you for your response. This is the moment where you prove that your presence is trustworthy, when you respond with care, not judgment, not impatience, but genuine care. You affirm to her that this space between you is sacred. And this brings us to another quiet but profound need. She wants to see you maintain your passions outside of her. Yes, this may seem paradoxical, but women are drawn to men who have a life of their own, a purpose that lights them up, hobbies that nourish them, friendships that inspire them. She won't ask you directly to cultivate your own life outside the relationship because, again, if she has to ask, the dynamic feels off balance. But she is drawn to the man who maintains his fire, not because he's pulling away from her, but because that passion makes him more alive, more attractive, more grounded. When you abandon your interests or give up the activities that once energized you just to spend all your time with her, it can feel suffocating. Even though your intention is to show love, she may begin to feel burdened. There is an erotic tension that exists when two people have their own worlds, but choose to come together not out of neediness, but out of desire. She wants to look at you and admire that you have something that fuels you beyond her, because that energy ultimately enriches the relationship itself. And finally, there's one more deep need she holds quietly. She wants you to lead, not dominate, but lead. Leadership in a relationship doesn't mean control or decision-making authority. It means direction, vision, initiative. When you offer direction, you take some of the emotional load off her shoulders. When you suggest plans confidently, when you take charge in small but meaningful ways, when you offer clarity about where you want to go, emotionally, practically, relationally, you create a sense of ease for her. Women today are often carrying so much: emotional labor, household decisions, professional stress, family care, and while they are more than capable, they long for a partner who can relieve them of the burden of always having to steer. When you step into that role thoughtfully, kindly, but decisively, you offer something rare, a space where she can rest in your certainty. But again, she will not say this aloud. She may even resist it consciously, because culturally we teach women to seek equality in all things, and rightly so. But emotional equality does not mean sameness. Attraction thrives in polarity. When you can lead not because you think she's incapable, but because you want to care for her experience, you tap into something ancient, magnetic, and deeply healing. And this is the art: leading without arrogance, initiating without demanding, protecting without infantilizing, staying curious without invading, maintaining your life outside her while making her feel cherished inside it. These are the things she wants, but won't say out loud because they are not tasks to complete, they are qualities to embody. So as we wrap up this conversation today, I invite you to reflect on the deeper invitation here. It's not about memorizing a list of tricks or mastering a technique. It's about becoming the kind of man who can feel what is needed, even when it's not spoken. The kind of man who is both grounded and curious, strong and soft, attentive and independent. Remember, small moments build big intimacy. Tiny gestures of curiosity, presence, attentiveness, boundaries, leadership, they create a space where she can relax into you, where trust can flourish, where desire can breathe. And most of all, don't underestimate the power of simply being awake in your relationship. When you are present, not just physically, but emotionally, you unlock the doors to connection she desperately hopes you'll find without her having to hand you the key. So, as you move forward today, listen not only to what she says, but also to what she doesn't say. Feel the quiet spaces. Respond to the unspoken invitations, and in doing so, you will discover that what she truly wants isn't hidden. It's right there waiting for you to notice. You have the power to cultivate this depth of connection, to step into this kind of relationship, to embody the kind of masculinity that makes her feel safe, loved, desired, and cherished. Thank you for being here with me, for exploring this beautiful terrain of intimacy and emotional awareness. I encourage you to share your thoughts below. What resonated with you? What questions you're still holding? What experiences you've had that echo these quiet needs we've discussed today? And if you found value here, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Intimacy Lab, and continue this journey with me. Here's to living love fully, bravely, tenderly. Now that we have opened up this quiet space where presence, curiosity, and leadership matter, let's go even deeper into this landscape where so much is felt but rarely spoken. What's striking about intimacy is that it is not built on grand declarations, but on the subtle emotional gestures that say, "I see you," even when you don't ask to be seen. And this brings us to another truth she wants you to understand without her saying it aloud. She wants reassurance, but she doesn't want to have to ask for it. It's an incredibly human desire to feel safe, to feel chosen, to feel that the person you love still chooses you again and again, even in the most ordinary of moments. But women often carry the weight of societal messages that tell them not to seem needy or insecure. So she won't come out and say, "I need you to reassure me that I'm still beautiful, that you still desire me, that I matter to you." Instead, she waits, she watches, she listens for the subtle affirmations you offer unprompted, when you compliment her in a way that feels real and specific, not just the standard "you look nice." But something more intimate, like the way your hair falls over your shoulder right now takes my breath away. That reassurance is gold to her. When you reach for her hand without her having to extend hers first, when you tell her that you're proud of her, when you admire how she moves through her challenges with grace, these are the words that heal invisible insecurities she may never voice aloud. And this doesn't mean you should flatter her artificially women feel when compliments are empty or generic. It means that when you see her, really see her, you let her know. Because reassurance is not about fixing her self-esteem. It's about showing her that she remains chosen even in the quiet routine of daily life. But again, she won't ask for this directly because if she has to ask, the moment already feels less spontaneous, less authentic. She longs for your desire to be freely expressed, not extracted. Closely connected to this is another unspoken wish. She wants emotional consistency. Emotional consistency does not mean you must always be cheerful or composed. It means that you are reliable in your emotional presence, that your moods don't dictate whether she feels safe with you today or distant tomorrow. If one day you are affectionate and open but withdraw the next without explanation, she begins to feel uncertain about her place with you. She may not bring it up explicitly, because she doesn't want to seem like she's overreacting, but the inconsistency creates an emotional wobble that slowly erodes trust. She longs for you to offer a baseline of steadiness. That doesn't mean you don't have emotions or struggles. It means you communicate them rather than retreating into silence. When you feel stressed or distracted, she wants you to let her in with a simple acknowledgement, "I'm tired today, it's not you." Such small clarifications prevent her from spiraling into doubt. They let her know that while you are human, you are still emotionally available and steady in your regard for her. This consistency allows her to relax emotionally. It allows her to trust the relationship as a safe harbor rather than a shifting landscape she must navigate alone. And again, she won't say this openly. She will sense it, feel it, respond to it. But she will rarely articulate it directly because emotional steadiness is something that should be felt more than discussed. Another hidden longing that quietly pulses beneath the surface is her desire for emotional reciprocity. This isn't about keeping score. It's about feeling that the effort she invests in the relationship is mirrored back to her in subtle ways. When she plans a thoughtful dinner, she notices whether you reciprocate with a thoughtful gesture in your own way. When she listens carefully to your worries, she notices whether you offer her the same quality of attention when she shares her concerns. She wants to feel that the relationship is a living, breathing balance, not a ledger where one person gives and the other merely receives. But again, she won't say this aloud because she hopes you will feel this rhythm naturally. Emotional reciprocity means leaning into the partnership as a dance. Sometimes she leads, sometimes you lead, but always attentive to the flow between you. And sometimes reciprocity isn't about doing the same things, it's about noticing her effort and letting her know you value it. A simple, "I see how much you've done this week and I appreciate it," goes a long way toward honoring the partnership. Women crave that sense that they are not carrying the emotional weight of the relationship alone. When you share that load through your presence, your attention, your emotional consistency, you allow her to exhale. And this builds toward the last layer we will touch on today. She wants your playfulness. This may seem surprising because life can feel heavy, relationships can feel like work, and responsibilities can weigh us down. But playfulness is a vital nutrient in long-term love. She may not tell you outright that she misses your playful side, that she longs for the days when you teased her lightly, when you laughed at silly things together, when you flirted without agenda, but that desire lives in her quietly. Playfulness reminds her that even in a world filled with demands and stresses, you can still create moments of lightness together. When you let yourself be a little silly, when you smile just because, when you tease her gently or surprise her with something unexpected, you reawaken the youthful joy that first drew you together. And this playful energy softens her, invites her out of her own worries, and creates a sense of connection that is effortless and warm. She won't say it aloud, but she feels it deeply when that playful spark fades. She notices when the laughter grows less frequent, when the relationship becomes purely functional. So don't underestimate the power of playfulness. It doesn't require a grand occasion. It can happen in the kitchen while cooking, in the car on a long drive, in the way you look at her from across the room. These small moments are what sustain love over the years, not perfection, not performance, but shared joy, curiosity, and lightness. And so we find ourselves in this beautiful complexity. She won't always tell you she needs reassurance, consistency, reciprocity, and playfulness, but these unspoken desires shape her experience of feeling loved, and when you attune yourself to them, you become the partner she feels deeply safe with, the man she can relax into, the man she can trust with her whole self. When we linger here together in this unfolding conversation, what we begin to realize is that love thrives not in the obvious places, but in the quiet spaces where we notice what isn't said, where we respond to what is felt rather than simply what is spoken, and this brings us to another dimension of what she wants from you, but won't say out loud. She wants you to embrace her complexity. Yes, her contradictions, her moods, her emotions that shift like weather across a landscape. She knows she is not always easy to read, and yet she hopes you will stay. She doesn't want you to fix her mood or flatten her emotional depth into something tidy and predictable. She wants you to allow her to be all of who she is without judgment. She may not tell you this directly, but she longs for you to meet her in her entirety, to witness her joy when she's exuberant, to hold space for her melancholy when she's quiet, to welcome her fire when she's passionate, and not retreat when she shows her vulnerability. Women often carry this unspoken hope that the man they love will not shrink from their emotional landscape, but will navigate it with curiosity and steadiness. And here's what many men misunderstand. It is not your job to solve her emotions. It is your role to allow them. You are not meant to control her storms, but you can be the lighthouse she looks to as she moves through them. When you hold your ground in the face of her emotional waves without reacting or withdrawing, you become the anchor she can return to. This is such a quiet but powerful gift, to offer her the freedom to be complex without fear that you will run from her depth. But again, she won't say this. She won't sit you down and say, "Please allow me to be all of myself." Instead, she hopes you'll simply feel it, that you'll welcome her wholeness without needing her to compartmentalize. And within this embrace of her complexity comes another beautiful, unspoken desire. She wants to feel desired not just sexually, but energetically. Desire is not simply about physical attraction. It's about the energy you bring toward her presence, the way your eyes light up when she enters the room, the way you lean toward her when she speaks, the way your touch communicates appreciation without agenda. Many men fall into a pattern where desire becomes routine or conditional. It shows up only when sex is on the table or when there's time carved out for intimacy. But what she wants is to feel that she is still a source of excitement and inspiration for you, even when life is busy, even when the day has been long. She wants your desire to feel alive, your delight in her laugh, your appreciation of her intelligence, your admiration of the way she lives and moves through the world. When you let that energy flow freely, not always through words, but through presence, through touch, through gaze, you feed a powerful current in your relationship, erotic connection. And she may never tell you this out loud because she doesn't want to beg for your desire. She wants it to arise naturally, spontaneously, so she leaves subtle clues, hoping you'll notice. When you meet her there, noticing the way her hair falls as she turns, reaching for her as she passes by, flirting lightly across the table, you remind her that attraction is still alive between you. That spark of desire is not about youth or novelty. It's about presence and appreciation, about showing her that you still see her as the woman she is now. And this leads to one final hidden need in this moment of our conversation together. She wants depth without heaviness. You see, what women often feel in long-term relationships is that conversations become transactional or overly practical, focused on tasks, logistics, responsibilities. She won't say it directly, but she yearns for those moments where the two of you can speak not just about what needs to be done, but about who you both are. Depth does not have to mean difficult conversations. It can mean sitting together in quiet reflection, sharing thoughts about dreams and fears, asking questions that reveal parts of your inner world that may have remained hidden for years, but, and this is key, she wants that depth to feel light, playful, curious, not burdened by analysis or weighted by pressure. This is where so many couples lose each other. They try to work on their relationship through serious talks, but forget that depth and joy can coexist. When you create space for meaningful conversations about hopes, desires, memories, ideas without turning it into a heavy relationship audit, you invite her to share herself in a way that feels safe and joyful, and she won't explicitly ask for this because it's hard to explain. Please talk to me about deep things, but don't make it heavy. Instead, she hopes you'll sense this nuance, that you'll ask thoughtful questions at the right times, that you'll wonder aloud about life together, that you'll reflect without judgment. This kind of emotional space invites her to meet you with her full self, her lightness and her depth, her humor and her sorrow, her strength and her vulnerability. And in this dance, you become more than just her partner, you become her companion in the ongoing mystery of life itself. So as you sit with all of this, her complexity, her desire to be embraced fully, her longing for your living desire, her wish for depth that doesn't feel heavy, you begin to see that intimacy is not something you achieve and then check off a list. It is a living practice, a daily art. It asks you to stay awake, to feel deeply, to notice what is not said, to respond with presence rather than reaction, to invite rather than demand. And this is where you become truly magnetic to her, not by becoming perfect, but by becoming attuned. When you offer this kind of presence, this kind of attentiveness, you give her the rare and beautiful gift of being seen, felt, held. Not because she asked, but because you chose to show up that way. And so, here we are, arriving at this final stretch of a journey that is not about tactics or techniques, but about becoming. You may have begun this conversation thinking that what she wants from you is a mystery you can't solve, but I hope by now you feel something different, that intimacy is not about solving at all. It's about witnessing, feeling, and responding. There is one final quiet longing that threads through every layer of what we've explored. She wants to feel that you choose her consciously, daily, freely. This is different than loving her out of habit or obligation. What she won't say, but will feel in her bones, is that she wants to feel chosen, not because you have to, but because you want to. And this kind of choosing is expressed in so many subtle ways. In how you greet her at the end of the day, in the way you listen without rushing, in the moments when you put down your phone simply to be with her. She notices this. She may never say it aloud, but she feels it every time your attention tells her, in this moment I am here and I choose you. This kind of choosing rebuilds trust when it falters, rekindles desire when routine sets in, reawakens joy when days feel heavy. And perhaps the most paradoxical truth of all, while she wants to feel chosen, she also wants you to maintain your autonomy. She wants to know that you choose her not because you're dependent or lost without her, but because from your wholeness, from your rooted self, you extend love toward her. That is what makes love sustainable, two whole people choosing each other not out of need but out of desire, out of appreciation, out of respect. She will rarely put this into words. She won't sit you down and say, "Please choose me, but also maintain your independence." She will simply feel it when you are whole in yourself and yet deeply available to her. And this is why cultivating your own well-being, your passions, your friendships, your inner world is not a threat to your relationship. It's a gift to it. When you nurture yourself, you become more magnetic to her because you bring life energy, vitality, and freedom into the relationship. She does not want to be your everything. She wants to be your cherished companion on a journey where both of you remain alive, curious, and evolving. So what she wants but won't say out loud weaves itself through everything we've talked about: your initiative, your emotional vulnerability, your presence, your curiosity, your ability to hold boundaries gently but firmly, your attention to details that matter, your reassurance without prompting, your emotional consistency, your reciprocity, your playfulness, your willingness to embrace her complexity, your alive and present desire, your ability to create depth without heaviness, and, above all, your conscious choosing of her from a place of grounded selfhood. And when you embody these qualities, not as a performance but as a practice of love, you become the partner she not only loves but admires, respects, and cherishes. The truth is, she wants what every human being wants beneath the surface: to feel safe, desired, valued, understood, and to feel that this happens not because she asks for it, but because you notice. You feel, you care enough to act from your own attunement. This is not easy work. It is not a checklist or a simple formula. It's a relational practice, a way of being that requires your full presence, your curiosity, your openness, your resilience. But the reward for this kind of love is profound, a relationship that feels alive, where intimacy deepens instead of withering over time, where trust becomes a foundation that allows freedom to flourish, where desire continues to burn because it is fed by authentic connection. This is how long-term love becomes an art, an exploration, a dance that grows more beautiful with time, not less. So as we close this conversation today, I want to remind you that this is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming aware, awake, and alive in your relationship. You don't need to get every moment right. You don't need to anticipate every hidden desire, but you do need to show up not just physically, but emotionally, energetically, and relationally. Show up with curiosity, show up with presence, show up with your own wholeness intact. And when you do, you will find that what she wants most has always been simple. She wants to feel loved not just in words, but in energy, in action, in attention, in how you choose her every single day. Thank you for being here with me in this deeply human conversation. If you're feeling moved, if these reflections resonate with you, I would love for you to share your thoughts in the comments below. What came up for you? What have you noticed in your own relationships? And if this conversation helped open a door for you, if it offered insight into how you can become more present, more aware, more connected, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the Intimacy Lab. Together we can continue this journey of understanding the beautiful complexity of intimacy, so that we can all love more fully, more freely, and more courageously. Here's to deep love, brave love, the kind that makes us more ourselves, not less. Until next time, stay present, stay curious, stay awake.